Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review, we are looking at the Gundam Universe Gundam EPYON. And if you already watched my review, which you probably would have if you watch all of my videos, I think I'm going to put it up first. I did the Wing Zero that's of this variety, which is the new Gundam Universe release that is kind of fancier and nicer than previous releases, and I ordered Wing Zero and EPYON. So that's what we're doing. I think I said that the Wing Zero was not necessarily a Robot Damashi replacement, but a good alternative if you don't want to get the older Robot Damashi, though I definitely am for the Robot Damashi line. This is bigger, cheaper, and pretty nice, but I would go RD, just to be clear. But we're going to talk about this one too, to see if it is a good enough replacement if you don't want to go that route, or if you want the bigger figure, or if you don't want to build model kits, that whole deal. So let's go ahead and get this guy off the stand and take a closer look. Alright, before we look at the figure, let me show you my package. It's pretty good. I like that the figure is mostly in the center of the window. It's not exact, but it's alright. And we have the nice render here that makes it look awesome, which obviously is not what it's really going to look like. This has all kinds of like battle damage and glowing eyes and glowing swords and things. You don't get any of that. But it still looks cool on the box at least. And on the back you have some minimal photography to show the figure off, probably because these aren't like super high-end figures. That makes it look really cool, and I guess you could probably achieve something like that with some harsh lighting, some very, very creative lighting to make the metallic parts look really nice without washing out the whole figure. But it's not as nice as the box makes it look, but it is a pretty nice looking figure. So let's go ahead and get into it. This guy, he is in stock at Big Bad Toy Store, by the way. I'll put a link in the description below. He stands about 17 centimeters, not counting his wings, and that's going to make him roughly, we'll call it like 6 and, I don't know, 5/8. It's very dependent on how you have him standing, if you've got like the knees locked back or whatever. But yeah, he's got some size to him. Here he is up against a Darwin, so he's taller than a Marvel Legends figure. And of course, all new sculpt, other than like other EPYON figures that they may have or may at some point release. So that's pretty good. And I think these were 40 bucks. So that's not bad considering it's all new sculpt and it's a bigger than 6.5-inch figure with good accessories and good part separation in terms of color. Yeah, it's not bad looking. So let's get into the aesthetic. The maroon parts, the burgundy I think is a better color for it. Somewhere in between maybe. Those parts are semi-metallic. They're not like super metal flaky and cool looking, but they're pretty good looking for an inexpensive figure. And then the rest looks very much like a matte plastic. All the black and gray, very matte finished. The gold parts are painted and those look pretty nice. Actually, it's probably more like a copper, isn't it? But yeah, those are very metallic. Those look great. Love that. The green thing in his chest nurple, that looks pretty good. The face is pretty well done. The focus on the face and not the chest nurple. The red to white transition isn't super clean, but the eyes are good. Those look nice. The green thing on his head. It's a pretty good looking figure for being inexpensive. I know 40 bucks isn't the cheapest thing, but for what you're getting, it's fairly inexpensive. And then like the black line work, it's clean. It's a good looking figure. Definitely could use more paint. That's generally the rule with Gundams. Whether they're Gunpla or action figures, you probably want more paint. But yeah, for what it is, it looks nice. And the sculpt is pretty darn sharp, especially the actual sharp things. They did a good job. These are definitely not for kids. This is hard plastic. It's very pointy, very breakable. Same thing with his noggin. But yeah, it's a pretty good looking thing. For what it is, I'm very pleased with it. I'll give the aesthetic a 9 out of 10. Could use more paint, but for what's there, it's pretty good. Now, as far as accessories go, you do get the hilt that sticks into his hip flap thingy, so you can pull that off if you want, but you get that. You get the sword, which is fully ignited. It is not transparent or glowy like the box would indicate. It is metallic though, so it can look pretty nice on the shelf. For hands, you get a whole bunch of hands, so everything you'll need, even things you won't, like trigger finger hands, you get them, that's fine. Then you get his shield/whip combo, and you have to put it together, but you get that, and it's actually pretty good. It is not bad, and it'll peg right into his forearm. So that's pretty good, and then lastly, of course, you get the taint gripper, and you will be set. It's not the most elaborate array of accessories, and they're not the fanciest things, but I think for this price point, that is plenty good. So I will go 9 out of 10 for the accessories for this guy. I don't think you need much more at this price point. Now, as far as articulation, well, first let me get rid of this because I don't like it being there. I've never liked that on this guy. All right, let's talk about the articulation. Technically, you get the backpack, which is an accessory, but I wouldn't take it off of him, so I'm going to leave that on. This piece keeps falling off. And we'll talk about that in a second because I've got a few pieces on this guy that just don't want to stay on. And it's super irritating. Nothing's broken, but it's just frustrating. So each side of the wing backpack has a hinge here and a hinge here, and that's it. It's It's not some kind of crazy involved thing. It is just enough to give him his wings, to let him pose a little bit, and that's it. So we're gonna pop that off just to make the... Can I pop it off? All right, we're not popping it off. I thought it just came right off, but it's not coming off right now, so screw it. Okay, let's talk about the head. He's got some nice joints in his neck that let him move his head around pretty well, especially considering, like, I think this works even better than the Wing Zero. I don't remember his having that extra hinge in the neck to lift the head up, but he can really look around very nicely. Now, of course, if you want it to look good and keep the head seated, you're going to have a lot less range, but if you want him to look around, it does pop up a little bit, and you can move it around like that, which I wouldn't do, but you can do. Shoulders are on a hinge for a butterfly, so that's good. This guy is on a hinge, and then you'll see the shoulder joint in there. You've got the ball socket, and then you've got the hinge for the shoulder. So you can get his arm up to better than horizontal, even with those big old shoulder pads. So that's pretty good. Of course, you're gonna get your full rotation, and your bicep swivel, and your double jointed elbow. Pretty good range, not bad. Ball socket for the wrist, feels loose. It's pretty loose, so luckily you won't be holding much on that side. On this side, yeah, the wrists feel kind of loose on this guy, so be careful. If you have to, throw a little bit of paper in there or some plastic, like a sheet of plastic, some saran wrap or something, and you should probably be able to tighten that up without any risk. You don't need to revert to like floor cleaners and things like that, though those work, or floor polish, not cleaner. Don't use cleaner. Those things can work, but this is a real easy fix. You just pop it in there and you can do it with, like, who doesn't have a piece of paper or some action figure plastic somewhere in their house? I'm guessing most of you do. So you can probably tighten up those joints. So there's that. All right, now his torso does work better than Wing Zero. He leans back a lot. He leans forward more. He leans to the side a lot too. Like, you can really get this guy's torso moving around quite a bit. Not a ton forward, but for what it is, it has pretty good range. Now for the skirt armor, they are just hinges, and they just peg into those hinges, so that's why this one keeps coming off. You could easily glue that if it was bothering you enough, and maybe you want to leave it so that it pops off so that it doesn't get in the way and then break. But yeah, this back one doesn't move. These ones just have that little bit of range. For the hips on this guy, we do get a drop down. I don't know how well you're gonna be able to see that. It doesn't bother me too much on these guys. They don't have a ton of range and they're not super loose. And you can still get good range going out to the side and going forward. This hip is definitely looser, and that's super annoying. This guy does have a few loose joints, which keep driving me nuts, but this side is nice and tight. Thigh swivel works. In fact, it feels like it needs lube. Depending on what plastics they use, that feels like it's gonna seize up, so be careful. You may wanna do some lube. Knee joint, not the best looking thing. I don't know if it's supposed to be a separate color or not. I haven't watched anything with EPYON in it in forever, but his knee joint is a separate color than the rest of his leg, and you get decent enough range, so that's probably fine. And then for the ankle, you get decent range going back like that, and pretty good range going forward as well, better than most robot Damashi, so that's pretty good. Nothing in the toe, so they did extra in the ankle, which I do appreciate. And you get an ankle rocker, which is, it's not great, but it's not nothing, so yeah, it's all right. It doesn't have the best stuff going on, but for 40 bucks, I think it's perfectly serviceable. I'll give his articulation an 8. It's pretty good. Could be better. Yeah, he definitely has some joints that are too loose. He's wanting to flop just on that knee. So be aware, the Wing Zero didn't have that problem. This guy has lots of loose issues, and I guess it could just be mine, but it's likely all of them. So be aware of that. All right, so now it's time for the final verdict. For 40 bucks, yeah, this is easy pickup if you're interested in this sort of thing. For me, I definitely prefer the old Robot Damashi figure, and if they make like an anime version as they have the new ones coming out, I would probably pick that up instead, even though they cost a lot more. Robot Damashi tend to be much higher quality than these. But this is cheap. I do think it was only 40 bucks, and I'll have corrected myself at some point if it costs more, and then just pretend I'm saying the right number every time if I'm wrong. But it is definitely less expensive than Robot Damashi, and it is good enough. So I'm going to give it an overall rating of, for the price point, I think 9 out of 10. It's pretty good. I don't like the loose joints, but otherwise, throw some extra paint on there, and it's excellent. And then without the extra paint, it's still really good. So I'll leave it there. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below, though, and we'll talk. So thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please do give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. And if you haven't subscribed, you should. I have new videos just about every single day, and thousands already on the channel. So make sure you come back for all of that. And in the meantime, keep collecting.